The two holy knights that snuck onto Elbaf are Gunko and Figurlin Shamrock. Again, he looks smack like Shanks, so they gotta be brothers or some shit, which would also make Shanks the son of a celestial dragon because he's St. Garling's son, but they're just torturing Loki while he's chained up, trying to force him to join the government's side, but he's making it very clear that he'd rather die. Now he says the same thing I did, you look smack like Shanks. Do you expect me to take this as some kind of coincidence? He just doesn't say shit, and she says mind your own business. That matter has nothing to do with you. He says you're not wrong, but a great pirate and a celestial dragon, they're polar opposites. You can't blame me for being curious. Anyone would find it strange that you two share the same face. Shamrock actually confirms that yes, Shanks is my younger twin, but he went astray. At one point he did return to the Holy Land, but it seems he grew too attached to the filthy world of the surface. Oh my gosh, Oda is cooking! And he returned? Then it's funny I ended up hating the both of you, and I thought my grudge couldn't get any worse. What a family. Just wait, you bastards. When I get out of these chains, you know what I'll do, right? I'll make it my mission to make sure my buddies are avenged, as it shows all the beasts they killed. So Shamrock's like, oh, was that supposed to be a threat? She's like, you don't gotta do nothing, but he says, I know. He isn't worth getting my hands dirty over. As he pulls out his sword, and it's like the sword ate a devil fruit, I guess? The Cerberus fruit? What the fuck? You got the Guardian of Hellblade, Cerberus. And Loki's like, what the hell type of shit is that? Then blades start coming out of the dog's mouths. He says, it's my biting blade. And even Loki wild ass like, damn, that shit creepy. He's getting worried because the dogs are looking at him as they say, let's clean up here and move on. Scramble. So Shamrock and Gunko like get on a bird to fly away, but he's able to leave behind one of the dogs or part of the sword. It says, feel free to hunt me down anytime you want. That's if you survive this, of course. Loki's like, hey, come on, yo, don't leave me like this. I was wrong. They actually left behind all three dogs, so he's like, you gotta be kidding me. So they're barking and running up on him, and he's scared for his life, and as he should be, because goddamn, that shit is unfair. Now, Shamrock says they're gonna start taking the giant children hostage. They need an extra person to help, so she's gonna call somebody. That's when it cuts back over to Luffy at the castle, and he's arguing about Shanks. The two giants that were knocked out says Shanks was the one that did it. He's like, hell no, Shanks would never attack for no reason. I know him, he's a cool guy, so maybe it was someone who looked like him, but they were just as confused because why would he even be here? Zoro's like, yeah, didn't he just leave a while ago? Why would he come back just to skulk around? Luffy persists like it's no way it could be him. He's always calm and laid back. But doing something like this doesn't even make sense. Nami's laughing like, damn, you really got faith in him. He's like, you damn right. You'd be just as mad as somebody was bad-mouthing Telemere. She corrects him, bro, it's Bellamere. So was it a lookalike or maybe his brother? He's like, well, if Shanks had a brother, he'd probably be a nice guy too. But honestly, he never talked about his family. I heard that he was raised on a pirate ship from when he was little. I figured Roger and Rayleigh were his real family. Maybe their whole crew, except for Buggy. But at the same time, we see somebody in a hat like walking up on the castle. Then it cuts back over to Frankie, who's exploring the giant Adam tree with Ripley. She's joking about selling it on the side because it's so valuable. Frankie's like, nigga, aren't you supposed to be keeping an eye on me? It's a sacred tree, my guy. You better not cut this shit down. And she laughs, saying he sounds just like him. But either way, stealing from giants sounds like a tall task. While they're walking around, Frankie notices a mural. She says it's graffiti from eons ago. Some kids probably etched it into the bark and it got fossilized. Now it's designated as cultural heritage, and it's supposed to date back somewhere between 800 and 900 years ago, right in the middle of the Void Century. Well, Frankie's like, oh shit, we gotta show Robin. Hold up, don't the figures look kind of odd for it to be Elbaf? It doesn't look like they're all giants. As far as we know, there are plenty of times where the races of the worlds clashed, but a cooperation of this level is unheard of. She says that's why I think it was probably just some kid's dream. That's when it cuts over to Saul and Robin as he explains to her about the sun god, how different giants believe in different versions of him, that the historical narrative is split into 3 distinct sections. The third world representing the present day, meaning it's some kind of prophecy. Mind you, all the legends of Nika have spread across the world. The only thing they all have in common is his booming laugh over this beat. That's when it cuts back over to Frankie in awe at the giant mural. Well, Frankie's looking at the giant mural that was drawn during the Void Century, and it has 3 distinct sections, 2 of which are supposed to document historical events, while the third is supposed to be prophecy for the future. Now it says in the first world, flames engulf the land and humans succumb to their desires. Touching the forbidden sun, the enslaved prayed. And the sun god appeared, and the earth god was enraged, and together with the serpent of infernal flames, shrouded the world in death and darkness, and they would never meet again. And in the second world, it said the breath stirred within the void, and the forest god sent forth demons. The sun god did nothing but spread fires of war. The people of the half moon dreamed, humans slew the sun and became gods, and the sea god raged. They would never meet again. I think the half moon people are those with D in their name because a D looks like a half moon. In the third world, the prophecy, in chaos there is void. The troubled shadow remembers the promised day and hears the voice of the fractured moon. The sun god dances and laughs, leading the world to its end. The sun will return once more and the new dawn will arrive. Surely this time they will meet again. So yeah, this requires a whole breakdown in and of itself. And it cuts back over to Luffy at the castle, and they still can't find the key to Loki's chains. The place is so massive it could be anywhere. Roto says the only people who would know where it is are probably the elders. There's no way that they would tell them because freeing Loki is a heinous crime. Now Zoro says we haven't decided that we're gonna free him. That's when Nami says she sees something, and Roto takes a gulp. He sees a red carpet that's the mark of nobility, so it could be the throne room. But they just walk right in and the whole place is in tatters. But when taking a closer look, the rubble looks like it's pretty recent. They ask what the meaning of this mark is in the middle of the floor. Nami says it looks like a magic circle. Roto says they use these to summon demons in some countries. But hold up, they're literally gearing up to fight the devil. And they're like, wait, does that shit really work? And he's like, I don't know. Why is this thing here in the throne room? Luffy's kind of recognizing it, saying it looks familiar, as he did see the Gorosei do this at Egghead, but someone calls out Straw Hat Luffy. So they're like, oh shit, who is it? Is it a demon? But the voice says, I've been waiting to meet you. Roto is scared as shit trying to run like it's a demon in the castle. As he grabs them and runs for the door, an axe flies out of nowhere and crashes in front of them. They all just fall back. That's when they notice someone sitting on the throne, and Roto recognizes him, saying, what are you doing here? Mr. Yasan, an ex-pirate and resident on Elbaf. He says, I felt a strange surge of haki coming from here earlier, so it looks like I missed whatever caused it, but I'm glad I found you all instead. I've heard rumors about you, Straw Hat Luffy. They say you defeated Kaido. It's been ages since I've been to Wano. I'd love to go again. Roto introduces him and says that he's Ripley's husband. He's the father of that pipsqueak that Luffy was fighting. He's laughing like, pipsqueak, yeah, you ain't wrong. So you've already met Colin and Ripley. His giant genes were so strong that he's always been too big for me to hold him. Can you believe he's 20 years old? And then Ripley's 80. She's even older than him. He laughs, saying marrying a giant doesn't make sense, not if I'm the only one that's getting old. So they're just shocked at him. He jumps off the throne, saying love knows no bounds. Mixed race people have existed throughout history. Buccaneers, Dosandandas, long-legged, long-necks, Wotans. Such hybrids are rare and often struggle to thrive on their own. But in every era, there are those who are more flexible, if you know what I mean. But this old ass nigga a freak. Zoro says, you seem like an expert. Who are you? And he says, the missionary of love. Yeah, you love some missionary, alright? Luffy says, I bet Sanji will end up like him. But anyway, man, we're looking for a key to free Loki. Roto's like, bro, you should not be saying that shit so casually. He's like, yeah, my fault. Forget I said that. Bro laughs like, oh, Loki, huh? Interesting. Troublemakers, are ya? I love it. Nami calls him vindictive and says to keep it to himself. Come on, rumors were made to be spread, Missy. But do you know what kind of man Loki is? What will you do if things go south? And Luffy's like, well, I'll just beat his ass and lock him back up. He says the only one who locked him up before was red-haired Shanks. But until that happened, not a soul was able to stop him. Do you know the kind of power that Loki has? If there's even a slight chance of him running amok, have you thought how many casualties there'll be? In the middle of him talking, they just start walking off like, well, the key is not gonna find itself. And the old timer sounds like he's gonna go on for a while. Zoro says what a waste of time, but Nami says they should heed his warning. Roto starts apologizing for them just dismissing him, but this gives bro flashbacks of Roger saying, I'm sick of all your warnings. Are you scared or what? If you want to stop me, you'll have to use force. So Yasan tells Roto to give the throne a push. It shows Usopp talking with the giants, and they're reminiscing about how there were two strong fighters on Roger's crew. It wasn't just Rayleigh, there was someone else who'd protect Roger when he'd need to recuperate. He'd use just 2 axes to fight off hundreds of pirates by himself. By the time he was done fighting, not a single tree would be left standing. That's why he's called the Mountain Eater, the way he'd strip them, and he could rival even Rayleigh himself. The left hand of the Pirate King was Scopper God. We find out Gold Roger's left-hand man, who could rival even Rayleigh, is Skopper Gaban, this old man that lives in Elbaf. He actually helps Luffy and Zoro find the key to Loki's chains. He tells them if they want it, they're gonna have to take it. But they're like, why would we fight you over the key, old man? Just give it here. Because they don't know who he is yet. He's like, come on, what? You don't think you can take it? You gotta love the rage bait, as you know Luffy's going for it. Zoro remembers that Colin said his dad was a pirate and didn't fear anyone, not even the giants of Elbaf. So Luffy's reaching for the key, but he just weaves that shit. Then he tries to go faster, but bro just starts breakdancing. Luffy's getting annoyed, like, come on, man, the sooner I can get back to Loki, the sooner I can get back to the feast. So he's like, come on, then hurry up and take it. So alright, just watch me. And he reaches, but Gyabin just jumps over that shit, coats the key in hockey for slamming it right on Luffy's fucking head. Nah, he put some Conqueror's hockey into that shit too. Hell no. Luffy just pops up annoyed as shit, like, come on. Gyabin says, yo, that's a nice straw hat you got. It suits you better than that helmet, don't you think? He just starts reaching faster like, duh, it's my treasure. I'm holding on to it for Shanks. I'll hand over the key, but he still can't lay a finger on him. And says holding on to it, he didn't just give it to you? What a cheapskate. Of course, Luffy gets mad like you've got it all wrong. Don't call him that, you don't know the first thing about him. Alright, Luffy, you gotta chill glazing this nigga like this. Gyabin just laughs, then shoves the key in his mouth. And you got a mouth on you, brat. So Luffy crashes into the ground with the key in his mouth, and Gyabin whips out 2 axes, talking about some grim throng, and starts cocking them shits back. Well, Luffy sees it coming, and Zoro yells for him to dodge, as he just dices the whole damn room to pieces. Is this how he was eating up all the mountains? Yeah, he just chopped off part of the castle, but says that Luffy's got a fine crew. Probably because Zoro knew he needed to dodge that shit. So they both lock in like, alright, fuck it, we jumping his ass. The bro goes full gear 5, and he really just wanted to see the form. As they really start running up on him, he throws his hands in the air and says, I yield. And they just hit the ground next to him. Zoro mad as shit, like, come on, yo, stop playing with us. He's laughing like, don't get so worked up. I was just fooling around. Luffy says, you tried to kill me, yo. You think I'ma just laugh it off? But hey, you're still alive, aren't you? Anyway, the key you're after is right behind you. Naruto's about to tell them who he really is, but Gyabin cuts them off, saying if Elbaf is still safe by the time you leave, come and find me. But Luffy's cussing him out like, why would I ever do that? I never want to see you again. They agree like, that's right, you dummy, but thanks for the key. There's still no way we're gonna seek you out anytime soon. Now he's having a flashback to when Shanks was recently on the island. He's telling him like, bro, do you really think I'm gonna trust Luffy that easily? To give him the key to Loki's chains? Shanks just laughs saying, hey, fair enough, do as you please. Now it cuts back to the school, and the children are telling the teacher that they see a giant bird in the sky. And of course, it's Gunko and Shamrock pulling up to kidnap the children. They still go to make one more summoning for backup. Still think it's crazy, like they just admitted that they're summoning demons. Now they brought 2 more people to the island, the Holy Knight Saint Summers and the Holy Knight Saint what the fuck? Quillingam? What the fuck? So the Holy Knights, Shamrock and Gunko, summon extra backup to Elbaf. One of them is this guy, Saint Summers, who is in his drawers. He was on the phone like, yo, didn't even realize he got summoned. The shit brought his whole couch with him too, while the other knight they brought was this guy who was asleep when they summoned him. He's just already partially transformed. And they're both shook when they realize they're in Elbaf, like they didn't even get a warning. But apparently Gunko only meant to bring 1 person, so why are there 2 of y'all? They got an order from Imu that Shamrock is supposed to return back. The situation in Mary Joie has gotten pretty dire. He's just gonna brief them on the whole situation before he goes back. Well, after they all get up to speed with the plan, you see they're just gonna kidnap the kids and take them back to Mary Joie. It's not like you can just stuff these giant kids in a bag. Those without the mark can't just be transported through the summoning. They have to spirit them away by ship, by combining all of their powers, and Shamrock's just like his dad, saying we could make a game of this. And forget that St. Garling was going crazy on God Valley. But it cuts back to Luffy, Zoro, and Nami, and she's just mad they've been doing all this work and haven't gotten any treasure. Come on, it's not like I care about this Loki monster, but I think Roto starts taking them down to where Loki is. Back over here with Frankie and Ripley, she's explaining how they all live on these enormous tree branches, and how each one has a long and rich history of its own. So Frankie asks about this one that got chopped off. She says a village used to be there, but lightning struck one day and it went up in flames. It had gotten too dry and old, so there was no way to put it out. We all cut off the branch so it wouldn't burn up the rest of the Atom Tree and destroy the other villages. And she tells him that that's Elbaf's biggest weakness, fire and lightning. It cuts back to Usopp hanging out with the giants, and Roto dropped Nami off here too. He's like, wait, where's Luffy and Zoro? And she's like, probably just off exploring somewhere. He's just excited to introduce her to the giant elder. Now ain't she a beauty, you pervy old man? He's like, really, I'm into older women. And Usopp hits the sword in his head, talking about you the oldest guy in the world. There's no way you'll find a woman like that. It's actually no way you just hit him in that sword, Usopp. What the fuck? Exactly, yeah. Rudin grabs his ass like, what are you doing? But Usopp tells Dory to shut up, saying, hey, does anyone want to pull out Excalibur? Obviously, they can't do that because the blood loss would kill him. But really, they're all just drunk and talking shit. And Jinbei's hanging out with them too, like they're really just partying. But Sanji asked, where's Gerd? As it cuts over to her talking with Roto about the giants that got knocked out. They both got fractures and look like they've been stabbed, but no regular human could do that. Now she can tell he's hiding something from her, but he plays it off cool like, I just found them like that. And says he's only sweating because she's staring at him. So she's going to question the guards, but he's like, nah, they need rest. So she's like, alright, I'm gonna go tell the elder, but he's like, no, that'll just ruin the party for everybody. No one likes a party pooper. So she just turns around and looks at him, and he's just trying to look away like he don't know anything, but he's thinking that if it gets out that Luffy's trying to free Loki, he'll be branded a co-conspirator. So hopefully they just take off after they free him, but the only thing he's worried about is that Shanks look-alike. But while he's thinking, she cracks him in his shit like, spill it, bro, I know you know something. Luffy and Zoro pull up with the key to free Loki from his chains. When they arrive, they can see he's covered in blood and barely hanging on to life. They're asking him what happened and who did this, but he just doesn't say shit. All they can hear is him breathing. Zoro notices that he's even bigger than the rest of the giants. Now Zoro says don't free him yet, this changes things, but Luffy's like, come on, it's not like he can go on a rampage with all these injuries. And Luffy's struggling, like getting weaker trying to unlock it because the chains are made out of sea prism stone. They're looking around like what could have taken out all these big ass beasts. Zoro wants him to just wait. He's like, bro, he's about to die. We have to help him. Zoro says we don't owe him a thing. I haven't spoken to him, but we shouldn't take his bad reputation lightly. This guy is as big as oars. If we let him run loose, it may not end pretty for even a country like Elbaf. So just wait, bro. Then Zoro like kicks the shit out of Loki and he writhes in pain and screams out loud. So he's like, welp, those bloody wounds are the real deal. Loki says, damn you, what the hell? Before just flopping down. But Luffy's like, you killed him, but he says, hey, if he is dead, then that was simply his fate. Like, Zoro, you can be a real jerk. Now he finally agrees to unlock him, but still wants to keep some sea prism shit wrapped around his legs. We can talk it out more once he regains consciousness. Now, Zoro starts unlocking it, saying, if they find out we freed Loki, aren't they gonna banish us? But Luffy don't care, then we'll just be banished. He's gonna go get Chopper to help him recover. As they're talking about making preparations to leave, they hear a voice saying, please don't do it. It's coming from way off in the distance, somebody they can't see. It's Rudin with the giant pirates rushing over to stop them. And they're saying if Loki escapes, all hell will break loose. It'll all be over. We're all gonna die. And Roto is just apologizing, saying he made the wrong call. They ain't even got time to worry about that shit. But they really come crashing down, so Luffy turns into a balloon to cushion their fall. Rudin thanks him because that fall would have definitely hurt them. But we had to hurry. Luffy, please don't go through with your plan to release Loki. I forced Roto to tell me what's up. You really can't trust Loki. He's a cunning, ruthless trickster, black-hearted, and beyond redemption. Since we were kids, even when he did or said something nice, it was all a lie. He's a fiend who betrays others without a second thought. Loki's a threat to the entire world. Now Luffy's just like biting his tongue as Zoro says, I'm afraid you're already too late. It shows Loki just towering over everybody. He stood up immediately after he was freed. But Luffy's confused, like, what? I could have sworn he was out cold. The rest of the giants are just screaming for him to stop. Like, Loki, chill. Put Ragnar down. And they're obviously talking about his giant hammer.